Welcome back, everybody, to another Digital Gate Studios production. Basil is back with a hotly requested deck, another Royal Knight. What do you got for us?
Yes, this is a deck I've been working on for a very long time, even before BT13 started. It's a deck that me, and shout-outs to Ryan if you're watching this, a deck that we both love very much, near and dear to my heart. It's Craniummon.
Ooh, okay.
It's a big defensive deck, and I'll say this right now before we get into the cards. It's the most skill-expressive deck that I've ever built.
Okay.
It has an answer to just about everything in the meta. You just have to play around it and utilize the tools that are in the deck. But it does take a little bit of planning. So the first time you put it together and play it, you're like, what the hell? This deck sucks. You just got to give it some time. It's got answers for everything.
But benefits if you know how to play almost every other deck in the meta.
True. And with that, we're going to get right into the eggs. I'm sticking with 4 of the Tumblemon.
Okay.
This is 1K if you're a blocker.
Figured it was going to be a toss-up between that or one other one.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. But just about every card in this deck says blocker on it or can gain blocker in some way. So we're almost always going to be getting that DP. And getting huge DP thresholds is kind of a goal of this deck.
What you want.
So I opt for the Tumblemon. If you wanted to go with 5th egg, you could throw in a Pagumon.
Okay.
I think Pagu is perfectly good and well. The reason I opted not for the 5th egg is we don't run a ton of rookies in the deck. So we're not going to be cycling through the eggs that quickly, as well as the time that you would have the Pagumon where you really needed that 1K DP. You'd rather just stick with the Tumblemon. But I could see an argument for the 5th egg, but I just opted for the 4 Tumblemon. Then we'll get into our first rookie. We've got another 1K DP on the Toy Agumon.
Okay.
It's pretty intuitive with the deck. We're trying to get huge DP numbers. One thing that you're going to notice instantly is our first rookie is only 2. We have no 4 of in the rookie slot in this deck, just because we're trying to tool for a lot of different scenarios, and 1 KDP is the most universal.
Gotcha.
Second, we're going with another Toy Agu, and this is end of turn if your opponent didn't attack, draw 1.
Okay.
One of the struggles that Black has, I think, as an archetype altogether is draw power. This is one of your solutions to that issue. It's really good and really easy to set up a 5, 6, 7K blocker really early, and your opponent isn't going to be able to really deal with that until about turn 3 or 4. So that's going to net you a couple of cards in the meantime. The weakness of this card is that it has a little bit of anti-synergy later on with our level 6, because eventually we're going to want our opponent to attack, and so it's going to have a nullifying effect with this card, but it is our best early game rookie.
You know my biggest gripe with that card.
Don't forget the trigger.
Always forgot that trigger, but it's a great card.
So with these, I could see going up or down on either of these, especially in regards to our next rookies. We're just running Floodgates, 2 Chikuri, 2 Chu.
Classic.
Every deck profile I have seems to have these guys running around. I would not take down the Chikurimons at all. I think play cost reduction is really important right now. Not only is Death X a problem for this deck, but Royal Knights, Belphemon, Blue Flare are all very popular. So I would say stick with the Chikurimon. If you wanted to drop 1 or 2 of the Chumons for the Toy Agus, I think that'd be perfectly fine. But I really like Floodgates, so I play them. And that's it for the rookies. 2, 2, 2, and 2 on the rookies. It sounds weird, I know, but just give it a try. Then we'll move into the level 4s. The first is for Mercurymon. So this is on play, and when Digivolving, one of your Digimon gains blocker. It doesn't necessarily have to be itself, as well as it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
And so that is really important because we're going to be skipping the rookies a lot of the times, and a key strategy in this deck is getting into a Craniummon and then getting into another Craniummon as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And I found that the hybrid package is a good way to do that. There are a couple of other ways we have to do that I'll get into a little bit later on, but the Mercurymon is a good start.
Gotcha.
Similarly, we've got only 3 of the Sephirothmon.
Yeah.
The Sephirothmon is a little bit more situational than the Mercurymon because obviously going for 3 in the raising feels a little bit bad on turn 1. as well as you don't get its when digivolving effect because there has to be something to apply it to on turn 1. But these cards are really good because they can float into each other both directions. So if you turn 1 go into Sephirothmon and Raising, you can promote and then digivolve for 0 the Mercurymon. You get another draw and you get the blocker for that turn.
Gotcha.
As well as it's just another way to hybrid up. And then forcing your opponent to attack start of main can screw up a lot of deck strategies because they want to be outside in the battle area, and this will discourage them from doing that. Our next level 4 in the deck, we have 3 of the Mechanorimon.
That's my favorite.
Mechanorimon I really like in specific matchups. It's really important in the Belphemon matchup because they don't really care if their stuff dies or not. So having a Mechanori to eat those attacks is really good. Saves you some HP. Gonna block all of the searchers that people play on turn 1. And with a lot of the cards we'll see a little bit later on, this Mechanori actually gets to be a pretty large and pretty hard to deal with Digimon.
Yeah.
And so I just really like Mechanori.
And he's a 4-drop. I mean, it lets you, lets you kind of reduce the amount of rookies you play because you can hard drop that for 4, and a lot of times.
And then suddenly you're into a level 5, level 6 right away. So I really like Mechanorimon. And we've got one more level 4, and that is the EX2 Gardramon.
Not the EX1.
A lot of you haven't seen this card in a while, and I don't blame you. The card is not the best, but it's very important in certain situations. It has synergy with some cards later on in the deck, as well as we're trying to hit specific DP thresholds. So in a turn where we have a Craniummon on the board, and then the turn passes back to our turn, you throw down the Gardramon, and you give it another 3,000. And so that's very important for decks like Belphemon is swinging at 17,000. This helps you get over that. Wargrey gets really big. Bloomlord gets really big. This is going to help us for just one more turn until we can do something else. Gets our big blocker even a little bit bigger. So that's it for the level 4s. We'll move on to the level 5s. The first is the Gyromon.
I love that card. That was like my MVP in pre-release.
This was a pre-release, a stomper in pre-release, but also really good in this deck. The first thing to note is that it's an 8K blocker just on its face.
Yep.
So already that's really nice for a level 5. As well as the inherited is when one of your Digimon becomes suspended on your opponent's turn, trash a security. So that has synergy with our Sephirothmon, that has synergy with our Craniummons a little bit later, and if they're going to attack, they're going to lose an HP for it. And I think that's really strong. Only 3 on this one because this is, at its core, a defensive deck, so you're not really worried about killing them. I'll talk a little bit later about the win condition of this deck in a bit, but this kind of just gets you a little bit closer to it.
That slows them down.
And it makes them think twice, well, maybe I shouldn't. Anyway, now we'll talk about ways to get our Craniummon real big. Another card from EX2 you haven't thought about in a while is Andromon.
Andromon.
This is all of your Digimon with blocker gain 2K. So one thing you can do with this deck is go really wide with blockers and then just drop an Andromon for 8.
Oh, okay.
And suddenly all of your Craniummons, all your Mechanoris, all your everything have another 2K on your opponent's turn. So that's going to be really hard to deal with for a lot of decks. And like I said, if we have a Craniummon, then we hybrid up a Mercurymon and then drop an Andromon on top of it, suddenly these Craniummons get to ridiculous DP thresholds, and that's key to the strategy of the deck. Then a little bit of a safer way to get DP is 2 of the Gigadramon. This is just the inherited 2K DP. I could see with this card going up or down one way or the other. It all kind of depends on your playstyle. I really like both of them, so I went for a 2-2 split. One last level 5 in the deck, and that is the BT11 Mamemon.
Hey, we're Tamer searching.
Yeah, this card is really good. We're playing a lot of Tamers in the deck, and that's the only reason we're playing it. The reason there isn't more of this card is because its inherited skill is useless in this deck.
Yeah.
I have all of my level 6s say blocker on them. So we're never really going to be getting this effect. We don't really, and I mean,
don't play
blocker,
Digimon by effect.
All the cards say blocker on them already, so we're never going to be utilizing this inherited skill. but searching 5, reordering them, and playing a Tamer is really strong. Let's just get right down to these level 6s.
Wonder what they are. I'm curious to see the ratios, though.
The first is the BT13 Craniummon.
Okay,
you gotta
so the
have
full
4
of. Okay.
This card is ridiculous. It's very strong. And it's one of those cards where you're like, God, Evo's for 5 and doesn't gain any memory. But the thing is if this Evo'd for 4, it would be ridiculous. So I think Evoing for 5 is fine. And plus, when you play this, you're not really worried about how much DP you give your opponent or how much memory you give your opponent, because this is really hard to deal with. When you Digivolve, it's not affected by any Digimon effects.
Yeah.
It is affected by options, and we do have ways around that we'll get to in a bit, but no Digimon effects, period. Then, at the end of your opponent's turn, you may use its ability to choose to attack. It's the only errata in the set, I believe.
Yeah.
But it is a you may.
Yeah.
That is going to help us in a number of ways. First, it's going to proc our Gyromon. And if we can choose not to, we can get the draw off the Toy Agu. Basically, it's going to stop our opponent for an entire turn, and then they're going to have to deal with it next turn. And on that next turn, we'll try to either get into another one of these, or get into an old Craniummon.
The oldie, the goodie.
So that is sort of the strategy of this deck, is get into Craniummon as fast as possible and give it a bunch of DP buffs. Then get into another Craniummon. So now you have 2 gigantic blockers, and they can't be deleted by any effect. This is option effects, this is Digimon, this is period. Cannot be deleted. And if you get to that point, you are in a very good position moving on in the game. And when I was testing this deck, it was just missing something. And it needed something big, something huge, something jumbo.
Oh, you did it.
Jumbo
Okay.
Gamamon?
I didn't realize you were going to put that in there.
Is this card, first, I put it in the deck because I thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ridiculous card. It has a ridiculous name. But then you play with it, and it's like, okay, you spit out a Mamemon, you search 5, play a Tamer. You spit out an Andromon, give it 2 more K. You spit out a Gardramon, give it 3 more K.
Yeah.
You give Mechanori, block forever. Spit out a Floodgate. I mean, this card is really slept on.
And it's not once. Is it once per? It's not
no,
once per turn.
it's not once per turn.
So if they swing multiple
if
times,
they want to
you're
attack
just-
a bunch, you just keep spitting out blockers and keep stopping them. This card is very slept on.
like that.
And so that is actually it for the Digimon. The reason I'm not opting for anything in the level 7s is I'm mostly focused on Ultimate Cup at the moment. So our level 7 option is the new EX4 Omnimon and Alphamon Oryukin. So
Alter B.
that's
Alter
what
B.
I'm talking about.
Oh, the one. Okay, yeah.
And so we're not going to run either of those, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I tried Quartzmon in this deck, and I actually didn't like it very much because we actually lose blocker because we don't have any inheriteds that give it blocker. So I actually wasn't crazy about Quartzmon in this deck, but I could see people adding Quartzmon or Death X in this deck, and I think that's perfectly fine. I am just more focused on the main strategy of the deck, which is a big black blocker. So with all these hybrids we have, we might as well run some Tamers. The first is the BT2 tie.
Okay.
So this is one of the setters in the deck, and it gives our black Digimon 1000 on the turn.
Glad you picked the good art too.
Yes, I like the orange with the black and gold. It's very nice.
Fight Jeff on that later.
But another way to get 1000 DP to your Digimon, this will change to the structure deck tie when we get it.
Okay.
But we don't have it yet, so we'll use this one. We have one more memory setter in the deck, and that is Izzy.
The reorder. Yep.
Yeah, Izzy is good because it obviously gains you that 1 memory, so it's really the only 3-cost memory setter, which I think is really good.
Yep.
As well as if you have both of these down, you don't feel so bad using Izzy as a hybrid source because you already have that memory tamer and it doesn't do anything else once it's played. Then we'll get into the best tamer in the deck.
Oh, here it is.
And that is 4 of the Joe. The
Kiddo.
BT3 Joe. This card is so old.
Yep.
It says start of turn, not start of main.
Yeah. They were still getting the kinks worked out when they made that.
However, this card puts in a ton of work. The first is that it's your 2-cost hybrid source, which is really nice because Black doesn't have a Takuya or a Zoe or anything like that. So Joe is kind of our proxy for that, as well as there's very few times where you're not going to have a blocker on the field. So you're always going to be gaining memory off of it, and it pays for itself within 2 turns. The last Tamer we have in the deck is 2 of the Izzy and Joe.
I love that card.
I like this card a lot. It's not so much for the start of turn gain 2 memory because it's not really a wide format, although it does punish those who do go wide against your giant wall of blockers. It's mostly for the deletion trigger. Like I said, draw can be a problem in this deck, but if you set up an early Mechanori or an early Mercurymon with blocker or something, Izzy and Joe's going to put another card in your hand, which is very nice. So that's it for the Tamers. We're going to move on to the options now. The first is the glue that holds tricky decks together. It's Black Memory Boost.
Okay.
You could go down on Black Memory Boost, and we'll talk about your options after we get through the rest of the cards. But Black Memory Boost is really good, obviously, because you need a lot of memory to get up into Craniummon. So Black Memory Boost helps with that. The problem is there's a lot of stuff that's getting bottom decked by the Black Memory Boost. Yeah. So I could see going down to 2 or 1 or 2, but I like Memory Boost a lot, so I opt for 3.
Really want to find those megas.
Yeah. Then we have 2 Iron Fisted Onslaught. This card is very good in this format for a couple of reasons. The first is that a lot of the stuff that hits your security on their big turn doesn't have any protection.
Yeah.
That is Mirage Galgamon Burst Mode, Belphamon, the Royal Knights deck. It turns it off. Shine Gray, it turns it off. So
my favorite thing is Shine Gray with that card. Because they'll swing with the Marcus before they swing with the Shine Gray a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. So that'll save you a little HP.
Yep.
And basically, if you can wipe their board and then leave yourself with a Craniamon, they're going to be in a rough shape. Then we've got a couple more options. The first is DG Dimension. This card I can't get away from. Yep. I like it so much. It's specifically great against Blue Flare and Bloomlord, which I think are going to be, pretty popular in the Ultimate Cup. I could see going to 3 Iron Fisted Onslaught or 2 of our last option, which is the Waltz's End.
Okay. The blocker card.
Yeah, I think Waltz's End is an insane card because there's not a lot of stuff with a play cost of 14. You can look. I think it's like, I don't think there's a single level 6, or if there is, it's like a Digicross level 6. Like I think Cross 7 is
something big like
is
that.
Is a 14 play cost, but
they'll let you know down in the comments.
13 play cost is really hard to get above.
Yeah.
So if you give that to Craniummon, the BT13 Craniummon, it's gonna wipe the entire board.
Yeah.
I have found that the option resistance doesn't come up too much, but I could see going up to changing these ratios around a little bit if you want, but this is what I have stuck with.
Well, DG Dimension gets so strong against the ace cards when we finally
That's
see
true.
them.
The ace cards do cost 6. So I want to make a final note about this deck.
Yeah.
You have to think about it particularly. So when you're building your own version of this deck, if you want to play it, all of these cards are all ratio adjustable for your particular scene. But that's where sort of the skill expression comes in this deck. You only need to hit 16k against Mirage Galgamon because the Mirage doesn't really have a lot of DP buffs. So if you're seeing a lot of Mirage in your scene, go a little bit less on the DP, more on the utility. Or if you're seeing huge DP numbers, more on the DP, less on the utility. That's sort of the strategy of this deck. There are a couple of MVPs I want to shout out that didn't make the list here. The first is the BT13 level 4, the jamming and then inherited reboot.
Oh, yeah.
I think that card is really good. That could make it into the level 4 slot if you wanted to shy away from the hybrids. I think that's perfectly fine. The other level 4 I want to shout out is Clockmon. BT3 Clockmon is plus 1k on your opponent's turn. Another card that you could use that I just didn't find room for because of the hybrid package. And I think with that, that's what I have for you.
Dude, I can't wait. I can't wait to test this with you. All right. Thanks, guys. There it is. We got more Royal Knights coming down the pike. I think we're almost done. Got a couple left. But yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel for some more Basil. See you next time.